Hey there, and welcome back to another Tempo Storm deck spotlight. This time around, we're going to be taking a look at Druid's most popular and strongest variant, Spell Druid. It may seem a bit strange to feature a deck that was just quote-unquote nerfed, but even with Kael'thas Sunstrider moving up to 7 mana, this deck is quite the powerhouse. Such a powerhouse that it has the possibility to define the meta. Many decks have already made sure to have some kind of contingency plan against Spell Druid. Before we take an in-depth look, make sure to subscribe to the Tempo Storm Hearthstone YouTube channel for more great Hearthstone videos. We have you covered on all the latest and greatest Hearthstone content. Now, without further ado, here's Spell Druid. Spell Druid isn't your typical on-curve deck. It's more of a combo-based deck that focuses around generating token boards. Instead of snowballing an early board state or generating tempo for minions over multiple turns, somewhat like the vast majority of Hearthstone decks aim to do, Spell Druid instead has 1 to 2 extremely powerful turns in hopes of winning on those turns. These turns come from utilizing powerful effects like Kael'thas Sunstrider or exotic Mountseller, coupled alongside very cheap spells. Both of these powerful 7-mana minions can single-handedly swing board states into your favor. Spell Druid has an exuberant amount of cheap spells. With the addition of Ironbark and Bogbeam, Druid has 4 spells that cost 0 mana. This means it's extremely easy to get value from both Kael'thas and exotic Mountseller. Once the Druid has created a massive board, they typically end the game on the following turn with either a powerful buff spell like Power of the Wild or a powerful finisher like Savage Roar. Now that we know the basics, it's time to look at how most games play out. Spell Druid is most vulnerable in the early stages of the game. It's the most crucial time for the deck. Cards like Wrath and Crystal Power can help out against aggressive strategies. Once you've survived, the next essential tool is Overgrowth. Overgrowth is necessary to skip the mid stages of the game and get you to turn 7, allowing for your insane combos to become active. It is imperative to have the combination of early game removal coupled with ramp spells for any chance against aggressive strategies. Against mid-range or control strategies, Druid can get by with just the Overgrowth and doesn't need all of the removal spells. Another key tool for every matchup is Glowfly Swarm and Fungal Fortunes, the 2 cards that make this deck so viable. Fungal Fortunes rarely ever discards a minion, and in most cases is a 2-mana draw 3. It's reminiscent of Book of Specters that used to be played in Highlander Mage. As for Glowfly Swarm, it is the main source of pressure before utilizing Kael'thas or exotic Mountseller. Sometimes just using Coin or Innervate to cheat out an early Glowfly Swarm can single-handedly win the game against certain matchups. Especially in the mirror match, playing the first Glowfly Swarm can often lead to early victories. When mulliganing with this deck, it can be very hard to tell what you should keep. Generally, it's up to the player to gauge what exactly they think they're going up against. If playing against aggressive strategies, it's generally good to keep some kind of removal coupled with Overgrowth. Against slower decks, however, you won't need to keep the early game removal and can afford to keep greedier cards like Overflow or both 7-mana minions. In general though, you should always keep Glowfly Swarm, Fungal Fortunes, and Overgrowth. These are the most essential and powerful cards that make this deck so strong. Once the deck has survived to turn 7, it then becomes time to play out some of the craziest combos you can think of. This is all thanks to Kael'thas Sunstrider. Kael'thas being at 7 mana didn't really affect this deck in too much of a negative way. A lot of times, the Druid waited to have 7 mana before even utilizing Kael'thas. Turns can range from simply creating a wide board with the Forest Aid, drawing numerous cards with Overflow, or buffing an already existent board with Gift of the Wild. Sometimes you can do all of those things in only 1 turn. These turns take advantage of the numerous 0-mana spells Druid has access to. If you ever get the chance to play a Kael'thas Sunstrider after using Overgrowth, it's virtually impossible for your opponent to win. Another powerful turn involves using your entire hand to summon multiple 3-mana beasts with exotic Mountseller. A good majority of the beasts for 3 mana are also pretty strong on their own. King Mukla and Zixor Apex Predator are 2 very strong minions to summon off of exotic Mountseller. Not many decks can clear a full board created by exotic Mountseller either. The deck has some very powerful turns, however there are some weaknesses to this strategy. First, Spell Druid can lose to very aggressive strategies. A lot of times, if the Druid doesn't find Overgrowth or necessary removal tools, it simply just dies. There's no easy way around that for Druid. It has very limited removal tools, and a good majority of the deck can only function properly when on 7 mana. Secondly, the deck can simply brick. Sometimes you just draw a mix match of awkward cards that don't really work well together. I mean, imagine opening up a hand that consists of Overflow, Savage Roar, and Ironbark. If your opponent has any kind of pressure and you continue to draw poorly, properly, you're just going to lose to the awkwardness of your own deck. There isn't really much room for tech cards inside of this particular Druid. Everything is so core to the deck that you can only really mess around with maybe 1 or 2 different cards. Some decks have been seen to cut a Power of the Wild or Rising Winds to put in a Starfall. Starfall can help with aggressive strategies and also catch your opponent off guard in the mirror match. There are some lists of Spell Druid that run multiple copies of exotic Mountseller. This is something to consider as it does do 2 major things. 1, it means more consistency. You will have one of the powerful 7-mana minions in your hand more often. 2, you have more sustain against control. You will have multiple turns to develop board states, and it will become progressively harder for your opponent to clear board after board. Both of these are something you can consider when tweaking around your Spell Druid deck. Spell Druid is an interesting, fun, and powerful combo deck. However, it definitely can be frustrating to play with and against. Sometimes you'll find yourself creating a 7-minion board by turn 5, and others you will look at all of the awkward spells and wonder why exactly you decided to use this deck on ladder. One thing is certain though, Spell Druid is still a powerful deck and can have some of the craziest turns Hearthstone currently has to offer. Thanks for taking a look at Spell Druid with us. Do you think you'll be climbing the ladder with this deck anytime soon? If you enjoyed this deck spotlight, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the Tempo Storm Hearthstone YouTube channel for more deck spotlights in the near future. Also, comment down below what deck you think we should feature in the next deck spotlight. See you next time!